Okay, so you mentioned his names list. What is give me the points in your pattern that you rotate?
Well, our basic pattern, is make a list, contact, show the plan, follow through, get them started either as a customer or a partner.
So 6 points, very straightforward. 6
That's
points,
right.
and you rotate that pattern. So you mentioned, this person's got 1,000 people in their Taproot. Now that's an extensive Taproot, right? You probably start to see results with 20, 30.
That's right.
Down that route. At 100, I typically would say something magical happens. But are you saying, I'm going to build this to 100 for them?
Well, what you're doing is, when you build one leg, very few plans are going to pay massive amounts of income on one leg. Mm-hmm. So normally you're going to need at least 2 organizations. But what you're doing by building one organization is the old saying, success never goes on sale, so pay full price. But by building one organization, it's true, success never goes on sale, but you're willing to pay a portion of that price. You're saying, you know what? I believe in your success so much, I'm going to go out and show some plans and actually start building some depth, maybe 10, maybe 20 levels in depth. And in the process of doing that, they're like, I can't believe Art. What a great guy. He is out there helping me build my first leg. And it's like, man, the least I got to go out there. And some people are like, man, they're so shocked by your willingness to help them. Most people, it's the first time in their life they actually have someone in their corner. Mm-hmm. Doing work, helping them accomplish their goals and dreams. When's the last time your boss sat down with you and said, I'm concerned to help you hit your goals and dreams. How are we doing on satisfying your quest for excellence in your life and your goals and dreams? It didn't happen where I work, I can tell you that. And so there's power in that community, that team. As you build that depth, that gives them a belief. Man, if Art can do that for me, I got to get out here and start building that second leg. And and when that second leg starts, that's when the massive numbers explode in depth. I mean, you might be adding 5, 10 people at the bottom in a month's time, and you might have 10, 15, 20 people on the side adding 5 or 10 people, and then your numbers absolutely explode because you taproot out a leg, and then you get all these secondary roots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a saying that depth builds stability, width builds volume. So in one way, that's absolutely true because you build a second leg, you're going to have a bigger check. Then you build a third leg, you're going to have a bigger check. You build a fourth leg, you're going to have a bigger check. Fifth leg, you look at a gangster money.
Yes.
Really big income here. One of my mentors once told me, he said, Art, if you can afford it, build one leg a year. At the end of 4 years, you have 4 solid legs and you're going to be free. 4 legs. What I've found to be more so the case lately, and I don't want to create controversy on this or contradict somebody's different teachings, but what I've found is that depth creates stability and profitability because depth helps accelerate volume faster than going wide.
Absolutely.
Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I spent 5.5 years doing start 15 to 20 legs, and then you'll find a few that are serious. And they used to even say it, throw mud on the wall. You just throw a lot of mud on the wall and see what sticks. Well, the problem is that's not mud. Those are people's lives. And secondly, when they're not sticking, that means that they're flowing through your business in and out. And then all they do is have another person saying that they had a bad experience with network and they got in and the train never left the station. So I like the concept of less is more. In other words, instead of throwing 15 to 20, put a couple legs on the table. I mean, when you get started, what my concept is, get started and let's taproot a leg for you. Let's show you. I start Art, and Art's the apprentice. And if I've been doing the business a little bit longer, maybe I'm the journeyman. And the journeyman works with the apprentice. My dad, as an electrician, they didn't just the first day on the job as an apprentice say, here, go wire that machine. Just start connecting wires and see what happens. Because that's not a good way. But think about how many times in networking you take your newest person that has no experience and you tell them, get out there and start showing the plan. It's like, he doesn't even know what he's doing. Well, the best thing is to take a journeyman, someone with a little more experience, and work with the new person and taproot a leg and go build that organization 5 levels or 10 levels in depth and rotate the pattern with them so he can develop skills and literally graduate to where he can be a leader in his own right through working with a journeyman, learning the skills. Mm-hmm. Then we don't have the blind leading the blind, which happens all the time in networking.
Right. And in the process, you're developing competence. And what competence basically means is you learn through CDs and books and associations and mentorship, but then you have to apply what you learned. If you want to learn to swim, you actually have to go and swallow a bunch of pool water or seawater in the process, but now you've actually have the competence, as you say, to go teach somebody else. Well, if you're just going wide, just visualize this. You sponsor 15 people. They all go on your front line. You've got an hour or two to put into the business. Where are you going to put it?
Can you help 15 people start their trains all at the same time?
You've got to be a pretty amazing leader to do that. And at the same time, those 15 legs, your job is to help them become independent. The best way to do that is teach them how to get confidence to go build their second and third leg.
I spent 5.5 years doing that 15 to 20 wide. And after 5.5 years of 5-6 nights a week, I had 200 people showing up to events. 5 years later, utilizing the apprentice leg and building tap roots, we went to 12,000 people showing up just over 5 years later.
Wow, showing up at events.
Events.
This isn't a team of 12,000. This is the people actually showing up at an event.
That's right. That's right. It went from 200 showing up to events to over 12,000 showing up to events. 5.5 years to 200. The next 5.5 years to 12,000.
Well, some people might say, well, in those 5.5 years, Orrin was becoming a better person, working on his skills, honing his talents. That has nothing to do with width or depth.
Well, after 5.5 years, I developed a lot of those talents, but I couldn't get any duplication until I started building the depth. So I didn't get that much better. When I started doing this, we tripled the size of our organization in 90 days. That didn't happen because my people skills got better. Although I constantly worked on my people skills didn't get that much better. My art side of the business didn't get that much better. But the science side of taking a leg and starting to taproot it out to truly get that duplication, because duplication doesn't happen when you sponsor someone. Duplication is when you build enough depth for them to realize this is going to work. And if it's going to work, I'm better to go out and do some work myself so I can make some money. Mm-hmm. And so if you're willing to build a little bit of depth, you will get the duplication that we all dream of in networking. It just doesn't happen when you sign someone up, though.
People listening to this, different compensation plans, different countries, all across the board. As you mentioned, in most plans, 99.99999% of plans, if you build just one leg, you're obviously not going to retire. Leaders have long-term vision, have long-term thinking, have delayed gratification. But not everybody who starts off is a leader. They're moving up the leadership path. You're telling them, hey, go build a taproot. And they're thinking, well, I'm not going to make a whole lot of money building a taproot. I can actually make more money short-term building width. How do we handle this within a culture, this thinking, to help people think long-term versus short-term? Especially the new person who's really just starting with their philosophies are just now getting molded.
Well, Robert Kiyosaki said there's 3 keys to wealth. Long-term vision, delayed gratification, and utilize the power of compounding. And when he put that in his book, he said he studied billionaires. And he said every billionaire, he said, boy, some of them were big, some of them were small. Some were good looking, some were not so good looking. Some were great speakers, some weren't great speakers. He said the only thing that all billionaires had in common were those 3 things: long-term vision, delayed gratification, utilize the power of compounding. So when I looked at that, I said, well, does building depth down a taproot make sense? It's focusing on the long term. In other words, I'm not building the business for what I can make income-wise in the next 30 days. I'm building a business for what it can produce for me 5 years from now or 10 years from now. I mean, this is a lifetime project. So certainly I can build depth. If I, to use your example, if I built one leg a year after 3 years, I'd probably be doing pretty good if I taprooted 3 big organizations. So certainly long-term. Delayed gratification. Yes, I'm willing to forego short-term income for a long-term duplicating result. And then third, utilize the power of compounding that's the only thing that gets you the compounding is as you build the depth and people start building outside legs. And that's where you go from addition, which is where you're adding depth at the bottom, to that multiplication, which is where you get the multiplying effect of many people on the side building the business.
And then when they open a third, fourth leg, you've got exponential
and crazy.
It's just going crazy.
Yep.